I do not wish those experiences on any of you. I do want you to take a stand for humanity. Take a stand for humanity. Direct the police department to cease cooperation with federal immigration authorities, except in the instance of a felony warrant. I will repeat that. Direct the police department to cease cooperation with federal immigration authorities, except in the instance of a felony warrant. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment?
Pat LaTorrell, Whitefish, Montana. I wrote my speech out so I keep it short for everybody. The town of Whitefish is looking lovely these days with all the new rock work around the river, dredging of the pond with new plantings, and the landscaping on both sides of the viaduct. But I am concerned that the council is not focusing on the safety at the same time. I will start with the lighting on our wonderful path system through town. K. Beller Park sits right by the highway, has 4 park lights as well as the lighting from the highway. The roundhouse sloop has park lights every 50 to 60 feet or so, plus the railroad yard lighting. The viaduct now has 10 dark sky lights, plus 3 county road lights, and the whole railroad yard lights. A bit of overkill on the lighting there. However, Riverside Park, which was the start of the path system, has 2 lights in the entire park. One on the north side of the overflow pond and one at the walking bridge. This is the park connection for kids going to school, mothers walking into town on errands, and visitors walking the paths for exercise. We know how dark it is with our seasonal weather, yet no lights. As the city has grown, so have the dangers, so please make lighting one of your priorities. It will help with maneuvering the icy paths, especially during the winter. My second concern on safety is evacuation from the north side of the viaduct. The viaduct is the only true evacuation access from the north. We know from the news about wildfires that have decimated other communities that have had minimal evacuation access. And add to that the potential for earthquakes in our area, we have a problem. Seismic activity, though minimal for the last decade or so, is still a potential threat for a big one. As the scientists predict, it is not if, it is when. It will be big. I travel that route on a regular basis, and the traffic jam on Wisconsin and Baker is a nightmare. It is not just during the ski and summer season anymore. Add a disaster, and we are in trouble, and you as elected and paid officials will be held accountable, which will affect the tax dollars for this community. Please, before any more development on the north side is approved, that you address this vital issue. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Anybody else? Any other public comment here this evening? Anybody online, Michelle?
Those of you who are attending via Zoom, if you would like to address the council regarding anything that is not advertised as a public hearing, please raise your hand. We're good.
Great, thanks so much. Next up, we have communications from volunteer boards. Are there any volunteer board reports in the audience? Scott.
So I'm just recovering from a cold.
Name and address for the record.
Scott Worster, 222 Montana Avenue, Whitefish.
And your board?
Community Development Board.
Thanks.
And as I was saying, I'm recovering from a cold, pretty foggy-headed, so please bear with me as I struggle through. I'm here tonight for Whitney, who was our board chair. Her father is taken ill, and she may be going back and forth to Arkansas. So she and I discussed this, and she asked me to kind of give this status report. The first item of concern is the report that Alan gave earlier about the economic development and hazard sections being completed. From our perspective, that's not quite true, and I'll explain why. Both of those sections were changed after they were voted on and approved by the board. That included editing text without our knowledge and presenting a draft where the changes were not red marked in 1 month, and then in the following month there was a draft that was presented that omitted some of our previously voted on changes. Both times the board asked for clarification on those changes, and I get a sense from watching what Alan presented today that he may have kind of caught up with all of that, but at the end of our last meeting we said that what we needed to do was to sit down and go through those. So at our meeting on Thursday, we're going to propose adding a second meeting in the first part of October, first Wednesday of October, to do that so we don't hold up any work that the staff is doing. What we're also going to propose is that we add in a regular first Wednesday of the month meeting. The reason I chose that was because that was the time that we had set previously for this the study commission meetings here. So it was on the assumption that this space would be available at those times. If that's not correct, that's fine, but that was why I suggested that date and time. And then there's one other thing I'd like to talk about, our Kemosabe hearing. We're aware, because it was included in our packet, that there's been a complaint filed against the board for our conduct during that hearing. Along those lines, I'm also aware that the video of that hearing was lost. I guess there's maybe 5 minutes of it that are now available online. It's not the first time this has happened in my experience on various boards. So I would like to make the suggestion to council that, like good court reporters, we always have a backup. So at a minimum, I would think going forward, as we work through the trials of this recording system, is that we also implement at least an audio recording backup that we can have and it's going to be reliable, because I don't think that maybe the council, when the Kemosabe matter came up here, could have been fully informed, because of course that wasn't available online. I just would like to, because there is no record, at least from my perspective, briefly explain why the board recommended against approving the Kemosabe conditional use permit. At finding 7, what we're talking about here is a retail establishment for a bar lounge license. And all of the discussion centered around statutory and code provisions that didn't apply. In other words, that they wouldn't restrict that use.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Scott, are you speaking for the whole board, or is this just your thoughts about what's going on?
I'll say they're my thoughts. I mean, there's been some discussion, but Whitney was going to present this tonight, and I'm standing in her stead. If I'm out of order, please let me know.
It's public comment. Carry
Pardon?
on. It's public comment. Carry on.
Okay, thank you. A lot of the discussion centered around all of these stats, the 600-foot statute away from a school, 150-foot statute, but none of the findings in the report dealt with the specific issue in a conditional use permit, which had nothing to do with any of the other statutes or code provisions, about was it in the character of the neighborhood to have a retail clothing establishment, have a bar lounge license within, I don't know, directly across the same street physically from a school. And I don't know if this lounge license also included gambling or not. I suspect that it may, but I don't know that for sure. But my concern is that there was no discussion of that in the staff report, so that there's no basis in the staff, no factual basis in the staff report that would affirmatively demonstrate why having a bar lounge license in a retail establishment directly across the street from a middle school was in the character of the neighborhood. There was some general language about it being in a commercial building and some other things. We amended that to take those out. I'm not sure if that's the report that made it to council or not. I was trying to look on today, but there was all kinds of problems with the internet system, and I couldn't look that up for sure. But if the matter were to come up again, I just want to make it very clear that in my own personal view, there was not a factual basis in the staff report for a finding and a conclusion that that this proposed use was consistent with the neighborhood. And I guess that's it for me for now.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Any other public comment this evening? Any other volunteer board reports from the council? Any board reports from the council? Not seeing any, I'll close that section of the meeting. And I'm going to make a motion, and I want to clarify this. I'm going to make a motion to reconsider an item that we dealt with last time. It's the it's the WCUP that we granted for Kemosabe, and I can't remember the name or the number of it right now. But in any case, my motion is to reconsider that WCUP for one purpose only, to reconsider it to add a condition to limit the hours of operation of liquor operations or liquor serving within that facility from 11 in the morning till 8 at night, which is what the applicant was willing to live with. That's my motion. My motion is a motion to reconsider it and put it on our agenda for next meeting.
Second.
Thank you, Steve. Any, so that's my motion. Basically, it's a motion for us to reconsider for purposes of whether or not we want to add a condition to that CUP. Any further comment on my motion? Yes. Yeah, sure.
So just for the sake of the public hearing that
Sure.
will be coming, we are voting to put on the agenda
Yep.
a motion that is restricted to one condition to an already approved and issued CUP. Am I correct?
Correct.
So neither the applicant nor the public should have an expectation that we have a scenario where we deny the whole CUP. We're just evaluating that condition.
Correct.
Thank you. I'll support that.
Great. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed, like sign. That matter passes unanimously. And Michelle and Dave, I assume that we will notify the applicant that we're going to do that, and since it'll be on our agenda, but they should have special, in my view, special notice. Okay? Thank you. Next, I have the consent agenda, and I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Seconded by Councilor Norton. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed, like sign. That matter passes unanimously as well. Our first public hearing this evening is a resolution 25-31, a resolution to annex and to incorporate within the boundaries of the city of Whitefish by petition and consent of the property owning approximately 2.0 acres of the land address 632 Lund Lane.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
So again, the request before you is from Olivia Boyle and Danielle Hirschberg, and they are requesting to annex 632 Lund Lane. We've done a few annexations out in this neighborhood. It's directly to the west of the shop. We did place a legal ad in the paper. We noticed the neighbors. It currently has a county zoning designation of R3, which is comparable to our WR1. At last city council meeting on the consent agenda through resolution 2529, you did approve putting this on the next agenda for a public hearing. The property is surrounded by residential uses and a city shop. After we put together the staff report and sent it to the applicant, and one of our conditions, which was also in the intent to annex resolution, was to obtain 30 feet along their frontage so we could have a full 60 feet of Lund Lane. Lund Lane continues or connects from the city shop where 18th Street will be pushed through, and then Caro Avenue, so it would be an opportunity for an east-west connector. The folks that own this property are getting a survey, so they're thinking the property may only have about 15 or 20 feet between where Lund Lane currently is and the actual house. So we're asking tonight that you'll open the public hearing, take public testimony, but then postpone this until we can get a survey and find out exactly how much land is available for a possible easement. And just sort of figure out what sort of opportunities there may be for that connection. So not act on the annexation rezone at tonight's meeting. And so that survey could take a minute. We are not sure exactly when that's going to happen, so it'll be postponed to a date uncertain at this point is what we're proposing.
Wendy, I'm just curious, why don't we just pull this item and hold the public hearing when we
We can
have
do
all
that
the...
too.
And
Yep.
because it just seems like,
Yep,
hold the
we could
public
just
hearing
postpone
now,
it.
then we're going to change...
We've advertised for it, so that would be the only reason if there's
Okay,
anybody
well,
in the
I'll find
audience
out.
that
Pardon?
wanted to speak.
Yeah,
Yeah, you could leave it open too.
okay.
Does that seem okay? Okay.
Well, let me just ask the rhetorical question. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak on this matter this evening?
And they may be online.
Is there anybody online that wishes to speak? Okay.
Okay, so that works too.
Yeah, at least my thought on the matter is that we simply pull this item since we're not inconveniencing anybody at this particular point until we have full information, and we're going to have to hold another hearing at that time anyway.
Right.
Do we need a motion for that?
Yeah, okay.
I'll motion to pull this item from the agenda until we get all the information we need for this, until when Wendy brings it back up for us.
Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed, like sign. Matter passes unanimously. Thanks, Wendy. Next, we have a consideration of a request from Dalen Property Holdings LLC for a conditional use permit to construct a second two-story building with professional offices spaces on the first floor and 2 apartments on the second at 6345 Highway 93 South.
All right, yes, so again, I'm back. So the conditional use permit is to build a second building to the east of the existing dental office out on Highway 93 South. And as the deputy mayor described, it's a 2-story building with commercial on the ground floor and 2 two-bedroom apartments on the second floor. They'll provide an expanded parking lot area to the east of where the existing parking lot area is, and it'll connect into the Snowy Mountain subdivision, which just got final plat at the last meeting. They're not proposing any deed-restricted workforce housing, so they're not eligible for any of those incentives. And a conditional use permit is required because it's a second principal use on a lot. The property, again, is developed with a dental office, surrounded by commercial uses and undeveloped property to the south. The zoning is WB2. The growth policy designation is general commercial, and it is served by all public services and facilities. We did all the legal noticing and put it on the webpage, and we didn't receive any comments on this project from the public. The project complies with the growth policy designation because it is a WB2, which meets the general commercial. It does comply with all the zoning regulations. They're meeting all the setbacks, residential density, parking, height, and the mixed-use development standards. One thing they are adding is a sidewalk from the building out to the highway, which will be a nice amenity for all the people that are in that area. So when you walk to drop off your car at Les Schwab, you can go over and get your teeth cleaned. The parking lot's not located in front, it is located to the side. There's adequate space for the building. It meets all the emergency services access requirements. They've effectively dealt with the site plan and all the requirements there. They will have to work with MDT because they are adding some traffic out onto the highway. It's not enough to require a TIS, but it is a change in use and they always require a coordination. Again, their traffic is less than 200, which is the threshold for a TIS. It's at 56. The neighborhood is commercial and multifamily, developing out there. The Community Development Board held a public hearing on August 21st. Staff recommended approval. The board recommended approval, subject to 12 conditions of approval, including adding bike parking, which we're doing with all of our multifamily and mixed-use standards, coordinating with MDT. One of the things that the Parks Department is doing as projects are developing along the highway is asking the adjacent property owner to take over maintenance of the sidewalk and the landscaping. So that is a condition as well. They will have to do a landscaping plan, get architectural review, and this CUP is valid for 18 months. Can I answer any questions for you?
Any questions for, yes, Andy?
Just a quick question, when you said the secondary access, that's, will be used all the time, it's not just emergency access?
Right, yep, it hooks to a road.
Great, thanks. Any other questions on the staff report? Not seeing any, we call for public hearing on this matter, and I entertain the public, or is the applicant, or the applicant's representative here? Yeah. Come on down.
I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah.
That's right. Aaron Wallace, 265 Hawks Lake Lane, Whitefish, principal architect for Montana Creative. Yeah, so we are here to do a second building on the Dalen property. It's about 1 acre. As Wendy kind of went through and outlined, the plan is to have a first floor of about 2,400 square feet, about 2,000 square feet of that will be actually office space. Planned on being medical, something complementary to the existing dental office. And then two bedroom apartments up above, nice sized type units with decks off of them. There's plenty of parking, we've got that on site. There's nice amenities, a little patio area space that we're doing off the back side on the first floor. We're putting some bike, there's standards now, there are standards to put in the bike racks for everybody and stuff like that. And with this, we're going to provide a secondary access off of the backside to through the Snowy Creek division or subdivision. So be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have related to the project.
Any questions for the applicant? Not seeing any.
Great.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, guys.
Now for the public hearing.
Richard Hildner, 104 Fifth Street, Whitefish. The only question I have is whether or not approval would compromise any potential extension of the Whitefish River Trail. I think that's an uncompleted segment that goes through there, and I'd hate to see an opportunity get missed, and I don't know if there's anything we can do. What's that? It doesn't go? No. Okay. Well, that answers the question then. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Any other public comment this evening? Any public comment online, Michelle? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion from council for us to discuss and vote on. Go ahead, Ben.
Would move to approve WCUP 2506 as presented.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilor Contagliano. Any further discussion on this one? All those in favor? All those opposed, like sign. Matter passes unanimously. All right, our next item is a proposed resolution 25-32, a resolution authorizing the submission of the application to the Montana Department of Commerce for financial assistance from the Community Development Block Grant Program, which we've heard about once before.
Yes, good evening. You have my staff report in your packet on page 114, which is immediately followed by the Community Development Block Grant application that has been provided by Homeward. As you mentioned, this is the second of the 2 required public hearings for the city to apply for the CDBG funding on behalf of Homeward. At the first public meeting on September 2nd, council agreed that Homeward's proposed project to rehabilitate the Alpenglow apartments was in the best interests of the city. Council moved to approve city staff to apply for the funds, so tonight will provide an opportunity for residents and council members to review the proposed project details and offer feedback prior to submission. In addition, staff respectfully recommend that the city council approve the draft resolution provided in your packet, beginning on page 112, authorizing submission of the application to the Montana Department of Commerce. I believe Aaron should be online to answer any questions. If you'd like to turn it over to Aaron.
Great. Erin is online. I'm happy to hear from her. Or him, whatever.
Oh, Aaron, we can't hear you.
This is
Oh.
the applicant.
Wait, there we go.
Oh, try it again. Oh, there
Can you
we
hear
go.
me now?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Thank you, commissioners. My name's Erin Ojala. I'm with Homeward. I submitted the draft of the grant application as well as the priority questions, which is part of our application. Our proposed scope of work is really just replacing all of the failing heat pumps at this property. We have a minimum of 38 of them. And so we are seeking $200,000 in CDBG funds and are committing $50,000 from either the property and or owners to help make sure that we can do these critical replacements. And so if there's any other thoughts or comments about the proposed work, I would love to hear your feedback and if you have any questions.
Any questions for Erin? Giuseppe?
Yes, actually, and my question is not kind of not about this, but I had a number of citizens writing to me asking, how come this system is 4 years old? The development, is it 3-4 years old?
Yes, it is.
So
It's
how
relatively
come,
new.
we're looking at a failed system that cost almost $250,000 only after 3.5 years of operations? And was there a warranty up to a certain point and nobody caught it within warranty, and now we're seeking for a grant? So I understand this is not in the order, but since there were those questions, I can make them now as public comment.
Yes, no, that is a great question. During the design phase of this property, we were, kind of sold a product that was promised to work well in Montana weathers, and it doesn't. We are in the act of pursuing damages with the company that installed those or provided that product. They swear that their product does operate, but we see that it doesn't. And so right now we're kind of looking for a class action lawsuit. So this company is big enough that it is going to be very expensive to pursue legal damages with this company. So we are really waiting for other organizations that were impacted by this product to step forward so that we can do a class action lawsuit together.
Thank you. That really answers my question. Thank you. I'm sorry.
That's fair. I think I asked the same question at the last meeting, but yes. Any other questions for? Okay, okay, Aaron, everybody? We advertised for a public hearing on this, and I'd like to open up the public hearing now. Is there any public comment on this matter? Not seeing any here in the hall. Michelle, anything? Not seeing any, I'll close the public hearing at this time and turn it to council for consideration. That's great.
But just to clarify, it is 2531 since we didn't accept that first one? Okay,
Yes.
all right. I move to approve a resolution 2531 authorizing submission of the application to the Montana Department of Commerce for financial assistance from the Community Development Block Grant Program.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed, like sign. The matter passes unanimously. Thank you. Next item is our proposed ordinance number 25-10, I believe, an ordinance amending Title 11 zoning regulations of the City of Whitefish Code.
Okay, this is my last one for you.
Cool.
So last month, you guys looked at amendments to the subdivision regulations based on bills that were adopted by the legislature. And then this is the zoning items that were adopted at the last legislative session that we're now implementing. They all took effect immediately, so we're just updating our code to reflect what was approved. Two bills, one eliminated the zoning protest provision, and another bill added factory-built housing, which is different than manufactured housing, and then a few housekeeping items. So the first bill, House Bill 713, eliminated the zoning protest provision. This was a provision in our zoning code that if a number of neighbors around a zone change, which included PUDs, and this is where we had seen it a couple of times, if enough of them signed a petition, it would force the council to vote a 2/3 majority for passing an ordinance, which 6 of you, 4 is 2/3. So, it was kind of a provision that didn't really apply in our situation. I kind of wonder if it more applied to places like Bozeman and Missoula, where they have a number of city council commissioners. But we did see it used a couple of different times, mostly again with PUDs. And I don't know why it came out. It just has been axed out of the regulation, or the state law. Senate Bill 252, which also went into effect immediately, identified a new type of housing called manufactured built housing, and it includes a definition. So we've included the definition, and then we've also included it in our definitions for single-family residential and multifamily residential. And it's differentiated from manufactured homes, which are certified under HUD. So this is still a off-site built type of home that is sitting on a foundation that now is eligible for use in the community. And then the city changed, of course, planning board to community development board, so we changed a few of those, but apparently that's changing here in a moment, to city or planning commission. And then we changed a bunch of the shalls to must, and updated some of the current review processes. So the planning board or community development board had a public hearing on August 21st. No one from the public spoke, and staff did recommend approval of those. So just to go through a couple of the changes. And then also, one other quick item is when city attorney was reviewing the ordinance and the attachment, the exhibit, she updated some of the language just for clarity purposes, not for substantive things. So those changes are also reflected in the exhibit. But just starting on page 138 of the packet, which is the exhibit, they talked about administrative procedures for zone changes. We don't have that, so I took that out. It talks about if a decision isn't rendered by the council, this is again is for a zone change, within 90 days it's automatically approved. We don't automatically approve things, so that was updated. The applicant shall provide names and addresses of property owners. How we do our public noticing, the county won't give that to anyone but us now, so we took that part out as well. And then removed subsection E, which was the reference to the zoning protest provision from House Bill 713. There was a section about updating our zoning map. It's online. We don't have a printed out zoning map on our wall anymore like we used to do in the olden days. One other item, City Council, when you are now adopting zone changes, this is another amendment that happened this last legislative session, is that items are adopted by resolution. They don't take a second reading for zone changes. And then finally, we added the definition.
Wendy, can I hold you there?
Yeah.
Assuming that's true, they're not zone changes, they're resolutions?
That was a state law change this last legislative session as well, so.
Question to you is, do we still have the ability to, since there doesn't have to be a second reading,
Right.
it's done by resolution, at the subsequent meeting after the approval, can it be moved to be reconsidered?
You may, as long as, yeah, you can. But
Okay, so
it's,
that option remains.
that option remains.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting that we did it by ordinance because a lot of other cities just do it by resolution. So
Okay.
I think state law just clarified that.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Wendy.
All right, and then the last item is adding in the definition section, the factory-built home. So we just took that straight from the bill, popped it into the zoning definitions, and then also added under dwelling, comma, multifamily, and dwelling, comma, single family, that it's an option for folks. And that is it. Is there any questions?
Great, thanks. Any questions for Wendy? Steve?
Wendy, I appreciate the time and care that went into this, but the subsequent item on our agenda switches the language to planning commission for everything. Would it be possible to still get this moving forward, but change all those to planning commission so that we're consistent?
I think so. That's
I
what
mean,
Dave and I talked about this afternoon.
I mean, I saw somewhere that it said, sometimes we will refer to this as the planning board, sometimes the community development board in our zoning regulations, and I would really love for us to just be consistent and use planning
Yep.
commission if that's what we're
Yep,
going to do.
we can do that.
So that's a promise
could-
you can make tonight that we'll
Should
get
it be
that
part of
done.
their motion, maybe?
Yeah, I would want it to be part of the motion.
Yeah, part of
Okay.
your motion.
There's no other comment, I'll make a motion.
See if there's anybody else. Any other questions? Not seeing any. We did, in fact, notice this for a public hearing, and I'd like to open that public hearing now. Any member of the public wish to speak on this matter? Not seeing any in the room. Any online, Michelle? Not seeing any online. I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion. Steve?
I move to adopt ordinance 25-10, an ordinance amending Title 11 zoning regulations with the addition of changing all instances of community development board to planning commission.
Seconded by Counselor Norton. Any other comments or not seeing any? All those in favor? All those opposed, like sign. The matter passes unanimously. And on we go to our last public hearing, which is ordinance 25-11, an ordinance amending Title II, Chapter 15 of the City Code pursuant to the Montana Land Use Planning Act to designate the Whitefish Community Development Board as the Whitefish Planning Commission.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I know, weird, right? That I'm doing something related to Community Development Board. But this is more administrative in nature, and so just to keep the process moving with everything else that's going on, I'm working with Angie. We did prepare a proposed ordinance so that we can move forward and be prepared to be in compliance with MLUPA and to minimize confusion when referencing state law. So back in the 2023 Montana state legislative session, Senate Bill 130 was passed, and what that did was allow municipalities to consolidate boards of adjustment, planning boards, and zoning commissions. So back in November of 2023, the Whitefish City Council adopted an ordinance to consolidate the city's planning board and board of adjustments pursuant to that bill. That board is what we refer to as the Whitefish Community Development Board. Also included is during the 2025 session, now we have the Montana Land Use Planning Act. While not a requirement for all communities in Montana, it is a requirement for the city to comply with MLUPA by May of 2026. We have provided edits for your consideration to the Community Development Board to ensure that we are in compliance with MLUPA. So the first change that you'll see is that we've replaced the title Community Development Board with Planning Commission as referenced in state law. We've also provided a reference to other areas of our city code because this is changing again from Planning Board that we went to then Community Development Board and now Planning Commission, it will reference both Planning Board and Community Development Board so that as those codes come forward for updates, we can update that to Planning Commission, but for now it will reference that. We've also added detail about the duties that's detailed in state law under MLUPA for planning commissions. They aren't really new duties for the board, but just a clarification of the requirements of state law. One of the bigger changes is changing the appointment of all members from a mayoral appointment to a majority vote of city council, which is required by state law under MLUPA. And then under the former state law, what we were following at the time, the Flathead County Board of Commissioners designates a member that is assigned to the county seat on the board currently. That person is designated by the county and then appointed by the mayor currently. But there is no requirement for a county seat for a planning commission. But because we've always had a Flathead County resident, the proposed amendment continues to provide for one seat for a county resident, which would now, instead of going to the county commissioners, would come direct to city council as all other planning board members actually do, where they would apply when they are interested to the city, and then Flathead County would no longer be involved. You would interview them, and then the city council as a whole actually appoints that individual as well. So there's no financial requirements as part of this change, and we respectfully recommend that the city adopt the proposed ordinance amending Title II, Chapter 15 of the City Code pursuant to MLUPA and designating the Whitefish Community Development Board as the Whitefish Planning Commission.
Any questions for Dana on her staff report? Steve?
Dana, regarding this, this county person, is there a requirement that they live outside the city limits but in the county? Because we all live in the county. So
Correct.
is it just whoever the city wants to appoint, or is there a requirement that the person lives outside city limits?
So it is simply a resident of the county. So it is not specific to being a resident in city limits. However, the other positions are titled as city limit positions, so you would typically see this being a county resident, not a city resident.
But there's nothing requiring it.
No, you aren't even required to have this seat. You could have all seats be city resident, actually. But we just wanted to provide that there's a county resident seat should you could choose somebody in city or out of city. But it is to simply provide that seat that we've always had. If you want to eliminate that and change that to only a city resident seat, that is absolutely up to you guys as well.
Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to just clarification. Thank you.
Rebecca, do you have any questions? Oh.
Yeah, I just have a question about where it says, to ensure the promotion of public health, safety, morals, convenience, or order, or the general welfare. How do we monitor morals? Like, that's never come up in any of the hearings I've ever been in. I mean, I know people say like drunkenness or
Can you tell me
something
which
maybe.
section that is?
Yeah,
Just for
sorry,
ease.
it's on, under purpose, powers, and duties, 2:15:2, and it starts out under number A. The Planning Commission, when acting as a planning and zoning commission, has the following roles. Number 1, to ensure the promotion of public health, safety, morals, convenience, or order, or the general welfare, and for the sake of efficiency and economy in the process of community development.
So Rebecca, that's really old language from the taken from old case law from the police powers of the city. I think you're fine striking regulating people's morals through the zoning commission if you so wish.
Is that bad to suggest that? Just 'cause
No, no, not at all.
it's
It's just really.
I don't know how we monitor that, or even, like, it seems like it could open a little bit of a can of worms to keep it in there. But
Yeah, it's old language from case law. So if you wanted to make a friendly amendment to strike morals, I would
even though
suggest
I
you do
believe
that.
in morals.
No, I'm not saying you don't. It's
I
kind of
like
hard to
good
regulate
morals,
through
and
land
I hope
use.
everybody
So
in town
sure.
also aspires to have good morals.
Yeah.
You know, but I just didn't. Sorry, Angie. I know sometimes
I
say
agree with you. Yeah, it's
I
old
spit.
language. So you are free to make a friendly amendment. We can probably get rid of morals.
Well, I'm okay.
At least in the language of the ordinance.
I'm okay keeping it in there because really, is it going to hurt anything to have it in there? No, it's just that I don't think that's our job really, but okay.
It's just archaic language, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or comments? We did advertise for a public hearing on this matter. I'd like to open up the public hearing now. Does anybody wish to speak on this matter? Please step to the microphone, name and address for the record.
Scott Worcester, 222 Montana Avenue in Whitefish. I have a concern about the change of the name from board to commission. As we heard during the work session here just recently, Montana, singularly among the states, has made a concerted effort through the Montana Land Use Planning Act of minimizing or reducing the amount of public input in this process, for example, by eliminating conditional use permits. And most of these uses will now become a matter of use by right. And that name, although this may seem like a small matter, does signal that a reduction in that authority, and I would prefer to see council keep the term board as describing it. Right now, boards and commissions are both composed of volunteers appointed to make governmental decisions. Boards typically have more authority and decision-making power than commissions, which mainly serve in an advisory capacity. And this is according to the general definition that pops up on Google when you Google those two together. My concern is that by subtly pushing this change of terminology, we're conditioning the public and council along the lines of reducing the planning board's authority as a board and more towards the advisory-only point of view. So that is my concern, and I would hope that we would keep the term board instead of commission. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Any additional public comment this evening? Anybody online, Michelle? Not seeing any, I'll close the public hearing and turn it to council for a motion. Sure.
I guess I'd be curious to the staff about what you thought about Scott's comment about board versus commission, and if it would help us not have to do a lot of paperwork or to change the name.
I will share that Kalispell is a planning commission, and they've been a planning commission this whole time. I don't think that the title board or commission is changing it. The requirement is what it is with state law, but we just want to be consistent. So the title that we're referring to when we have individuals who may want to seek an appeal that's going to be detailed out in state law, and that's where they go. They see planning commission, and then they go to our website, they see planning commission. They don't see community development board and trying to figure out if that's the right board. So it's for consistency, transparency, but the duties of the board are what they're going to be, whether now or in the future. But currently, we haven't changed the duties. We have only added what they're currently doing for the board.
Why are we changing it from planning board? I mean, because we had planning board, then we went to community development board, and then why are we changing it to commission?
Because Montana Code annotated 7625-104, which is under MLUPA, it's under general provisions, requires that each local government shall establish by ordinance or resolution a planning commission. And that's the title that they're using.
So we don't have
Rebecca, I'd add every other MLUPA city has changed theirs to planning commission besides us.
Okay, but thanks for the thought, Scott. Thank you for explaining that. And so we're just doing it to become legal.
To be consistent with state law.
Thank you.
Sure.
Just so, if I understand you right, we haven't changed the responsibilities or the roles at all. It's just a semantic
Correct.
change at this point until state tells us we can't do this or can't do that with this group.
Correct. The only changes is the title and then how the board is appointed and how that county resident will not be going to the county commissioners.
Okay, thank you.
Rebecca?
Okay. I guess I'd like to make a motion.
I've got one question
okay, go
before
ahead,
you do
never
that.
mind.
And this is a little bit of a rhetorical question, but I've never quite understood this. We're going to have a motion now to change the name. Why will we have to look at other ordinances, regulation separately to simply change the reference from planning board to planning commission? It seems like if we approve this, we shouldn't have to look at, it should just follow right through that we make those changes in the rest of our code. Why? Or do we know? Or can we just make it that way?
I think any zoning changes to the text of zoning would have to go through the community development board. So this came through to you, and I'll give you a little bit on timing. This board actually has new interviews coming up in December, and so we were trying to get it changed so that we can have it be very clear for new members that might be interested and or those that are reapplying the process by which they should go, and then the title of it. But yeah, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Angie, but any text amendments to the zoning where this title, the title is used would have to go through community development board, and more of a process than is necessary through this ordinance. This is just a standalone ordinance under our boards and committees that you have set this committee up.
Yeah, I will add that we added some language from the Montana Land Use Planning Act, setting forth that the commission has the duty to, review the land use plan and future land use map, zoning regulations and maps, subdivision regs, and any other legislative land use planning document the city council designates. This is something that the community development board would have already done. We just put that language in there to track Senate Bill 382. So.
Okay, then what was the discussion that I may have misheard, that we would look at other regulations so that when we did that, we would be filtering this name change into those? It's like, we're making this change now, why do I have to look at a separate regulation that references this board, this commission, and have to make it it should just happen?
Yeah.
Am I missing something here?
Like there's probably 300 or 400 references to the board throughout the code and the subdivision and the zoning regulations, and it's just a longer process. I mean, do we want to bring the entire code back as amendment, or we want to do it piecemeal? Which is why we added some language in here saying, the planning commission is also known or referenced as the planning board or community development board, because we still have places in the code that say planning board that we haven't changed. So,
right. No, maybe I'm making this too hard. Why don't we just simply make all those references consistent with this? It's like that's what we've decided to do. I don't know why would wait to make the changes in the other zoning regulations or subdivision regulations. We just changed the reference that's in there from planning board to planning commission based on this. Yeah. Why do we have to make the change piecemeal? Just do it at once.
So it's a requirement of our, when we go and use our codifiers, right? They're looking at every ordinance that's coming through. And so it has to be detailed out in that ordinance for them to upload it into our city code. It's not so simple as going in and doing a word search and just changing the name. We have to have an ordinance that supports that change. Yeah.
Can we have a separate ordinance that just says, that gives direction to staff to change to planning commission everywhere it mentions something else? Is that possible, or do we have to go through every single?
I think I understand what's going on.
We figured that since we're going to be revising the rezoning code substantially anyway with the MLUPA stuff, that we'd take care of it at that point. But
okay.
I mean, if I understand what's happening here is we have to make a change to the code. The code can only be changed specifically in where reference that happens to be.
Right.
We can't just blanketly change all the code, right? So,
And that is,
Yeah.
I understand now.
yeah,
Do
so,
I
so it's like a piece, so it's like, it's text in a zoning code.
Yeah,
Or
no,
text in
I
some
guess
other,
I guess-
it's, any text change requires a public hearing and notice and all the rest of that, even if it's something as simple as this.
Right.
Correct? Is that?
Right? Okay, I hear you. I was trying to simplify life and say, this is silly. But that, okay.
It's how
We
the sausage.
appreciate
That's all I was
that,
asking.
yeah.
It's how the sausage gets made, Frank.
It's a little like we shouldn't have to rip the Band-Aid off 1,000 times. Let's just do it once and get it done with. Okay, any further questions for staff on report?
I would make a motion,
Okay, please.
or unless, were you gonna do it, Rebecca? Go ahead. Oh, okay, I would move that we approve ordinance number 25-11. That's an ordinance amending Title II, Chapter 15 of the City Code pursuant to the Montana Land Use Planning Act.
I'll
We'll
second it.
designate our Community Development Board as the Whitefish Planning Commission,
Sorry.
which it shall be known heretofore. So there you go.
I'll second it.
And, can I be recognized now?
Sure, you
Okay.
can.
So this might be controversial, but I'd like to make a motion to eliminate under membership 215.3, one member appointed by city council who is a resident of the county, and then under C, change it to 5 citizen members appointed by the city council who live in the city. And I can speak to that if there's anybody that would second that. No second.
I'll second for discussion, Rebecca.
Okay, well, I was on the planning board for 2 terms. I kept thinking that the planning, I kept thinking that the planning person that was coming from the county would keep us abreast of what was going on in the county, and there'd be sort of this exchange of information between what was going on with the county and then what was going on in the city, and I've never seen that. I've seen people living just outside our borders very invested in what's going on in the city, but I've never seen much benefit to people that live in the county being on the board other than their engagement and their commitment to making our city better. And so it's sort of like my concern about using the data from 59937 versus the data just from our city. I just think we are a city, and we have people that we represent, so why are we opening that up instead of concentrating the commitment from the people that live within our city alone? So.
Giuseppe.
I guess this is for clarification because now I'm confused. I thought part of that packet said that we were going to change the appointment of the members. So it doesn't matter where they're coming from. We're all county citizens. My tax bill says so. But the appointment of one of those members insofar has been executed by the county commissioners and not by either the council or the mayor. Am I understanding correctly that within that packet, we're changing that to where the county commissioners are not appointing any one of the members of the planning commission moving forward?
Correct.
So I do not understand your motion.
I could be wrong, but doesn't that eliminate the county's right to appoint someone to the board?
So the right for the county to appoint, and by appoint, essentially they are technically recommending still, but they would pick the person to recommend from the pool of applicants, whereas this way you would see the full pool of applicants that are interested, the way it's written. Section B under membership, one member appointed by city council who is a resident of the county. You can, if that's unclear and you want it to be only a, so you have like a couple options. One, you can leave it as written and interpret it to be a person in the city or in the county. It's probably a little inconsistent with how we've interpreted it. But you could have it remain as is. You could also say that there is only 5 citizens, or you add that 6th one to citizens of the city. Or you could say who may be a resident of the county and give yourself flexibility if you don't have applicants from the county and you do have applicants from the city, and you could have it read be one member appointed by city council who may be a resident of the county. It doesn't hold you to a county position, but it gives you the opportunity to have a county position.
Are we required by law to have someone from the county anymore?
No.
We're not, okay.
You're not.
That's
And
okay.
haven't been for many,
Yeah.
and haven't been for many years.
Okay, yeah, I like that idea, though, but I'm just one person up here, so.
I have a question. Is there a number that we have to hit? Because if we take out B, then we only have 6 members on the board.
Yeah,
Or
you would
the
need to have an
commission,
odd
excuse me,
number.
commission.
I think
We need an
only
odd
3
number.
is the minimum. So 3 is the minimum. I wouldn't recommend that. But you have 3, 5, 7.
Okay. Because if we have 5, we take out B, we only have 5. We only have C, which is 5 plus a city council member, which is 6. So we would need to either also amend C or, well, we'd have to figure that out. And I would just offer, Rebecca, that there is nothing that requires us to appoint somebody from the county. We all live in the county, so there's nothing that requires us to appoint somebody that lives outside city limits in the county versus just living in the county, which we are all county residents living in the city. So B really doesn't require us to appoint somebody from outside the city limits. It just gives us the opportunity to say, wow, there's somebody that lives in Alpine too that would be a great person on this board, adjacent to the city, but not in the city limits.
But can I talk back to him? Okay.
Certainly.
But it reads, one member appointed by city council who is a resident of the county.
We are all residents of the county, so it could be somebody that also lives in city limits.
Or not. I mean, doesn't matter.
Or not, yes.
Okay, but I guess it comes down to, what is the purpose of having someone representing the county on our city planning board? I mean, in the past, I would have thought it was so that we would have a liaison between the county and the city, but if that process is not actually happening, why do we have that language in there?
It's like a member at large in one of the many other boards where we have members at large. I can see a scenario where someone from Big Mountain might bring value to our board, our commission. What we're saying in that packet, if I understand it correctly, is that 6 commissioners need to be citizens of the county, and at least 5 have to be citizens of Whitefish. And we appoint them, all of them. So until the past, the commissioners had a latitude to recommend that one that was not necessarily a citizen of Whitefish. Now, when I read the packet, it was very clear, we are going to appoint them all. And one could be not a resident of Whitefish as long as he's a resident, she a resident in the county.
Okay, I'd like to withdraw my motion if the second is approving it, because that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Rebecca, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. Just for some clarification, it used to be state law that one of the appointees was a county. I think if you guys wanted to give yourself a little bit of leeway, that may be a member, like we could keep the maybe a member of the county. It might a resident of the county. It may make it a little bit more clear. So, but that's up to you guys.
Okay, so I would like to make a, Frank's. Okay, never.
You're gonna give me a headache. Let me just see if I can put some context in here, and Andy knows this as well as anybody. Go back a long time ago, far, far away, in a good time, when we had a planning jurisdiction outside our city. The reason we had a county, a non-Whitefish resident county member, they were to live in our planning jurisdiction. The purpose of it was to maybe not just put window dressing on, but to give a member of our planning area that was not within the city an opportunity to be on that board. That was the purpose, or that was the history behind it. Once we lost the donut in our planning area, we decided as a group, we still wanted to give those that were in our expansion areas or our planning areas an opportunity to participate that weren't citizens of Whitefish, but were in areas that we might grow to or outside of that, to also participate and have, so that they felt included, and to give them a better feeling about it. That was the history behind that. And I think changing it to may, or I think it's like, it just muddies the water, and just, this gives us all the flexibility as to whether we appoint a citizen, a county citizen, or a county planning area person for that position. All the flexibility in the world, and we can do that. And quite frankly, I think the right idea is we probably should be looking for somebody from Big Mountain to participate, given that we're probably going to annex them. So anyways, Andy.
Rebecca, arguably to your point, before, as Frank said, we had that person from the county, so there was not taxation without representation. But the point you're making is now we actually have representation without taxation, is what you're saying, and that's probably a valid point, but I think that it broadens our applicant pool, for one thing. If we have a 6-member board, that's better. We all know quorums are difficult to come by, and people travel, and it's hard, and there may be some stellar person just outside the city limits that could be a benefit to us. So I think I'm fine with the way it is, quite frankly, so.
Thanks for discussing it. I think I'm not going to make another motion then.
Okay.
I actually would, for clarification. I'm sorry. I don't like the way that it's written now that we've batted this around. I would like it to read, starting with who may be a resident of the county not living within Whitefish city limits. That way, it's clear that we can appoint somebody from outside the city, but we are not bound to it. And
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on that friendly amendment?
We're done.
We're done. All those in favor? All those opposed, like sign? That passes. Now, back to our original motion. Any further discussion on the original motion? All those in favor? Matter passes unanimously, and I think we're done here. Next on our agenda is communications from our Park and Rec Director regarding consideration to award a construction contract for the Armory Park restroom and playground path. Page 171 of your packet.
Good evening. This evening, I'm seeking your approval for a bid award for the Armory Park restrooms and playground paths projects. Invitations to bid these projects were advertised in the Daily Interlake August 24th and the 31st. Bids were opened September 9th at 11 a.m. in the City Council Conference Room. We received 8 bids. All bids were accepted. In addition to the base bid, there were 2 additive alternates. Additive alternate 1 was for concrete playground paths. Additive alternate 2 was for asphalt playground paths. The base bid with additive alternate 1 bid range was 11% lower to 37% higher than the engineer's estimate, and the base bid with additive alternate 2 bid range was 8% lower to 43% higher than the engineer's estimate. Veda Contracting, LLC, was the apparent low bidder for both the base bid with additive alternate 1 totaling $319,187.50, and the base bid with additive alternate 2 totaling $305,632.50. The bid tabulations are included in the packet for your review. In consideration of the additive alternate, staff really prefers the concrete over asphalt for the playground paths for aesthetic appeal, longevity, and for ease of maintenance. The current overall project budget for FY26 is $792,000 in the Resort Tax Fund, and additionally, we recently found out that we've been awarded $750,000 through the Land Water Conservation Fund grant for this project. Based on available funding and project priorities, staff respectfully recommends that the City Council award the Armory Park Restroom and Playground Path project bid to Veda Contracting LLC for the bid base and additive alternate 1 for a contract total amount of $319,187.50. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Maria on her staff report? Ben, go ahead.
Just one, could you elaborate a little bit on the grant?
The grant is a 2-year grant. We haven't signed the grant agreement yet, but we expect that it'll be through FY '27 and $750,000 as a reimbursement for any of our projects that we are completing in Armory Park that we have identified as Phase 4. So it doesn't include the pavilion, but it includes like the softball fields, any of our park amenities, the open space area, and it can include the restroom and playground paths, as well as gazebo area, additional paths, a parking lot.
That's really great. Thank you so much for pursuing that.
Giuseppe.
Just for the public, where is this money coming from? The grant money?
So it's the Land Water Conservation Fund, which is federal funds that is transmitted through the state. So we're working with Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, and then they work with the National Park Service.
So for the public, we're receiving money from the federal government through the state government into Whitefish.
Correct.
Thank you. Good job.
Any further questions or comment? Have we made a motion yet?
Make a motion to award the construction contract for Armory Park restroom and playground path to Veda Construction in the amount of $319,187.50.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed, like sign. The matter passes unanimously. Michelle. And on a personal note, I would, or not even personal note, I would like to again commend Maria for really some incredible work in finding grants and funds to support the city's parks. Without those, this place would not be the same. And so great work, and thanks so much for it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Next item is we're up for communications from the city manager. Dana.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have my manager's report in the packets. If you have any questions about that, please let me know. Maria shared the exciting news, but I'll just say kudos to Maria and her department for getting that LWCF grant. Again, this is the second time that she's been awarded that for this specific project, and it's saved taxpayers over $1 million, which is pretty excellent. I would also like to have formally introduced our Deputy Fire Chief, Will Peterson. He started here in July. He came to us from Rockford, Illinois. He'd worked there as a special operations chief, been there for 28 years. So we are thrilled to have him on board. He really got thrown right into the fire, and I'm not kidding. He took lead as our incident commander on the Old Piccolo's fire that occurred early July within his first week of employment. Has done an excellent job leading our crews and working with Cole. So we're happy to have him here, happy to have him join our team of directors and deputy chiefs. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. If you do have topics you'd like at the retreat on November 1st, I have received some from those that have emailed me. Please feel free to send them my way. The sooner the better, then we can make sure staff is prepared, or I have the right staff attending for any questions or discussion that needs to occur. I'll be working with the mayor on getting an agenda out, but November 1st, day after Halloween.
Thanks, Dana. Any questions for Dana on her staff, on her report? Oh, yeah, go right ahead.
I think you guys should, like, crow a little bit about the fruit gleaning. I mean, 700 pounds of apples, apples, plums, and pears? 2,000 pounds.
2,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. And I could also turn over to Maria, but Carla, who works for us, she's our community services coordinator. She helps coordinate this with the food bank, and what an excellent year they had. Over 2,000 pounds, roughly, of fruit that was picked up from the trees or from the ground. Some of the fruit that had already fallen was donated to FWP, where they can feed wildlife that they're trying to rehabilitate. So the food bank has done a great job to improve this every year with a number of volunteers, but being able to process the fruit to keep it so that it's not just fresh. They can actually turn it into jams or can it so that it can continue to serve those in need for a longer time than just the ripeness stage of the fruit. So we're very happy with that program and helps reduce bear interactions and food sources for bears and deers alike.
Andy?
I could have asked this later, but as long as it came up, what's going to happen on the cleanup at Piccolo's, being as how I drive by it every day, and I'm probably a little more in my face than others, so I'm like, I don't really want to see it buried under snow, because it
Yeah.
won't be that attractive.
No, it would not be that attractive. I have been in contact with council for the property owner. They are doing asbestos testing right now because they can't just go demolish it without doing their due diligence. So we should see some movement soon, hopefully.
Well, just tell them that really takes like a day. You just take your sample down to Montana Environmental Laboratories, and they'll let you know in about 2 to 3 days, having done it in the past. So
I
shouldn't
will-
take that long, but anyway.
Yeah,
that's
I
just-
will say that they've been, or at least council for the property owner has been quite responsive. So,
Okay, all right, thank you.
but I'll nudge them along.
Ben, you had a question?
Yeah, if I could ask a follow-up on that, every time I look at it, the first thing I think about is the fact that there's a lot of carcinogens and fire debris and possibly asbestos, and there's a storm drain right below that fire, and it is running down into our lake, which goes into our water supply. So I'm just asking the question, I mean, are we concerned about that aspect of this? And is there anything that should be done to protect the cleanliness of our water?
Yeah, the debris should be removed. I mean, we could either put an erosion control, or they call them a witch's hat, in the storm drain, or require the property owner to, but the reality is it's going to be dissolved sediment that comes off that site that's going to go right through. So yeah, the quicker we can remove the debris, the better.
Craig, comes on a rhetorical question. We require water barriers and that kind of stuff on all our construction next to water bodies and that kind of stuff. Why don't we require that they put on curtains or something else around that site to retain that stuff?
You know, I've been out there during some of the heavy precipitation events, and I haven't witnessed solids coming off of the site. I think obviously there's dissolved material, but any kind of straw wattle or silt fence isn't really going to serve any purpose out there.
Okay, thanks.
I would just, it seems like safety is the better course of action here, even if, you know, the stuff probably will get through, not hearing for certain. Is there a way we could put something up, the best technology that we have available, and then charge the landowner because they haven't done anything?
That's, I think, kind of a legal question. We could easily go get straw wattle and, you know, line the fence, or at least the downstream side of it.
I'd rather see something than nothing, I think. Wouldn't council agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, we're probably talking about $1,000 or less.
No, I still think they should be on the hook for it for not doing anything. I mean,
Right.
they haven't done anything with that property in years, and now it's burned down, and they still haven't done anything to remedy the situation.
We can ask, or we can require it. I know that we forwarded the bill for the fencing. I don't know if it was ever paid, but they were going to pay for the fencing as well moving forward, because I believe we're being charged on a monthly basis for that, correct?
Well, I mean, I would assume that we have some sort of process. We're going to give you 10 days to get this remedied, or we're going to do it at your expense. Is there a way to send their council a letter like that?
I can do that.
Is that
Yeah,
okay with the council?
I would very much support that. I just think that the issue of everything washing into our water supply is much more of a concern to me than the appearance of it, even though I don't love the appearance of it. And so it seems to me that we should push to get this remedied as soon as possible on public safety concerns. And I don't know the best way to do that, but I'm sure you could figure it out.
What's council's consideration here? Would you like to do that? All right, Angie, write a letter. See what we can do, okay? Yeah, and maybe it'd spur them to get their approvals on asbestos and just get the damn stuff out of there, if nothing else. So, thanks. With that, no further, we are to consider, I guess, the approval of a memorandum of understanding with the North Whitefish Lake Community Fire Association.
All right. Just to briefly go back a little bit, in April of 2025, City Council directed staff to work with members of the proposed North Lake Fire District, DNRC, and other stakeholders to apply for an easement of DNRC trust lands. It was about 1.5 acres at that time, to be used as a place to establish a fire station for the proposed North Lake District. Since then, members of that proposed North Lake Fire District who had really been taking the lead, they've created the North Whitefish Lake Community Fire Association. I did include information from the April 7th meeting in the packet just for you to reference, but essentially this would serve mostly the north end of the lake as an opportunity to stage resources and have a water cistern to be able to respond to wildfires. And so really what we wanted to do was create a memorandum of an understanding between all the parties involved, well, between us and North Whitefish Lake Community Fire Association, so that those roles and responsibilities were very clear in this process. This is the first time we're really doing it with this organization. We've had agreements with like legacy partners when we've applied for easements in coordination with them. This one is a little bit different. So you have the draft MOU in the packet. We also having you review this because the Whitefish Community Foundation will also be involved in that. We would open a special purpose fund with the Whitefish Community Foundation that would hold all of the donations for the easement application, the procurement costs of that easement, the fire station building costs in the future, and then any other non-advocacy costs that are associated with the creation of the North Lake Fire District. Realistically, it will be a little bit time intensive for staff early on, but overall this should be a fairly easy process to work through. They've been great to work with and have heard our concerns and the concerns of the Community Foundation, specifically related to advocacy costs that we said, we can't have those run through the city when you're trying to create a district. And so we would be responsible for applying for the easement. And then we do have the requirement that if they do create the district in the future, we would coordinate with DNRC to transfer that easement to that district. Currently, they will only provide an easement to a government agency, so we are it. The association is currently set up as a Montana nonprofit. There's just the requirements for dealing with the special purpose fund, what it would be used for, how we would coordinate with the foundation on looking at the receipts and disbursements from that fund, and then making sure that we wouldn't be contracting for any type of project or the easement until we had those funds available. The association is really responsible overall for all the fundraising efforts. If they don't have the money, this isn't moving forward. It's definitely no cost to our taxpayers to do this other than some staff time. We will be working with them on what that station might look like, what resources, what infrastructure helps us to respond, because currently they're in the fire service area. In the future, the idea would be their own district, but they would contract back with the city. So they definitely want that station to be able to operate well for our department and our response. The proposed application, like I said, for the trust lands is going to come at virtually no cost to the city. There might be some minor costs related to just writing a check and sending the check to a vendor and costs like those, but they should be very minor. Staff does respectfully recommend the City Council review and approve the memorandum of understanding with the North Whitefish Lake Community Fire Association, and then authorize me as city manager to execute that as well. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Steve, go ahead.
Dana, I'm So you said there's staff time involved in applying for the easement. Or is the city being reimbursed for that time? 'Cause you said it's gonna be a lot of work in the beginning.
Yeah, so we are not contemplating being reimbursed for our staff time. You know, when I say a lot, it just depends. A lot of the meetings, you know, they'll take time, but I don't think it'll be significant if it does become an issue. You know, it's definitely on our schedule and not necessarily their schedule, just when we're available. But we've been working together pretty well, because in the end, if they do become a district, we will be paid at the actual rate of our cost versus what the fire service area is paying us right now for that area. So there's a benefit to the city in the end, supporting them to get to this place of being a district, in that financially it'll be better for the city. It's just going to be some upfront staff time.
And that guarantee that will be paid at cost will come later? Or is that part of this?
Yeah, well,
MOU?
that's that has been, it's not in here, but it is, when we would get to that point of contracting with them, basically the communication between both parties, they want to pay the actual fair share of costs, but I also indicated we would not contract with you unless we had the fair share of costs covered.
Okay, I mean, I'm just concerned because most of the people that live out in this area are not in the city limits.
Correct.
And we're using our staff time to provide them a benefit that we're not getting reimbursed for currently. But if you say that it's gonna be a benefit overall, because it's gonna because it'll essentially be a new fire service district where we don't get compensated for our one-to-one, but this will.
This will compensate us, correctly. And then also just knowing like the Whitefish Trail's out that way, like there is a location. I think the intent is to have a location for a helicopter to be able to land as well, and then having water access if there was a fire up near the trail, we would be able to, there would be resources that could use it, not just the city. DNRC would also be able to use this as a water source if for some reason they can't access the lake.
Okay, thank you.
Giuseppe.
Be careful. Helicopters require 300 feet or 500 feet.
Yeah.
setback. No,
I don't know I don't know how easy it's going to be to have a helicopter pad there, but I know it's
for
been
emergency
discussed.
services, it's okay.
Yeah.
Now, my question has to do, and I premise, for sure they're not the same situations, but we're looking at this one. We had a presentation during a work session about the Star Meadow homestead, if I remember well. I've heard from another group, I do not know how to define it, but it's west of Whitefish. There are two layers here. One is the danger of fire and the real concern. Two is the cost of insurance. So because insurances are not renewing or are putting premiums that are so high that the ownerships has a business case where they can say, it costs me less to buy 2 fire trucks, build a fire station, I'm paraphrasing, rather than try to self-insure myself for all these properties. My question is, given this background, do we have a big picture? Meaning, if we start getting requests from all the areas that are right at 5.1 roadable miles, because the axe cuts at 5 roadable miles, where the insurances say, I'm not sure about this, we will get more and more requests. Now, I understand this is a very well-designed case with a fire district, but it's also another precedent. My question is, how does it go? It's not in the master fire plan, because we didn't have that in the fire plan. So under which plan are we going to be able to navigate through all these requests that will be coming?
Yeah. No, you bring up a good point. And I think what we've seen is that the fire service area is a very large area, and it encompasses both open space, open ag land, and then high-end home developments. And then just your average homes. And so there's definitely an interest for those that are in the higher risk areas of the fire service area to have stations closer to them. The fire service area is trying to move forward with a petition to to become a district. And that's another issue that I think some of these higher end areas are facing, is that they would then be paying more of the bill because it's based on your value instead of a per lot or per building fee. And so you're seeing this transition where they want the funds that they're putting in invested closer to their home, whereas the fire service area is focusing on their current station, and then haven't heard if they're focusing on another station anywhere, but it definitely wouldn't be, for example, at the north end of the lake, just because how big their district is or area is. So it's definitely something. In the future, we envision that the state legislature will create what is called a fire authority. Many states are moving to that, where you essentially no longer have a city fire department. A fire authority would be, for example, all of Flathead County that is run by a fire authority, and instead of having all these separate districts and cities, it would all be run under one. That will be, but there is, like, the city doesn't necessarily have to give up that authority. That we'll see. It hasn't come through. It didn't come through last year. It failed in 2023. So I think they were waiting in 25 to get their ducks in a row a little bit more. But that's an option that I think we're seeing that could come forward in the future. I don't know if it'll be in the 2027 legislative session or not. But yeah, it's not. I think it's hard to plan for this because this is really all of a sudden come forward in the past year, year and a half, where we have areas that aren't serviced and they want to be. In fact, Iron Horse, for example, we know that when we moved the fire station from this location out to where it is now, it pulled them out of the 5 road mile radius. And they are now looking at working with the Iron Horse Golf Course, donating land so that a fire station can be built there, so that we have a second station in city limits. It's that big of an issue, I think, for some of the property owners. And then some are just like the aging population also wants EMS close by as well for that station, for example. So each is kind of unique to their own. Star Meadows decided to hire their own fire chief, utilize the building they had already there. And I believe they're kind of doing more of a volunteer or internal operated fire station. There are other communities around here, neighborhoods that are looking at doing something similar to that, or joining in with another district that might form. So it's kind of this evolving thing, but because Whitefish has been contracted for the fire service area, all of these are within that jurisdiction where we already serve it. We envision we'll have to continue to serve it, and as these districts come up, the conversation will be, okay, great, now pay your real fair share. And that should help. But it will create a much more, a bit more on the management of different contracts than we do have one, because we only have one right now for the fire service area.
Any other questions? Ben?
I was going to ask if you wanted a motion.
Sure, go right ahead. But I would do
So,
want a motion.
Hadn't ever heard of this special purpose fund, but you just said that we can't take advocacy funds through the city, and that's legally, we're unable to do that. And so could you just explain that? And then I was wondering, will Iron Horse be doing the same kind of thing? Okay, so it's like a holding fund,
Yeah.
so that we don't take anybody that could have a bias, like they would, I don't know how to explain it, but do you mind talking about it just to briefly?
Yeah, I think that, community foundations, maybe not maybe legally, I'm not quite sure, but I think they had the same opinion as us to stay away from advocacy dollars, because for one, any ballot question, we can't use city funds, city equipment to say vote yes, for example. We know that with our resort tax, we couldn't do that. It's the same for this. This is going to be a ballot question eventually, whether or not that group becomes a proposed district. And if those funds are running through the city to create a vote yes campaign, we would likely be in violation of state law. So that's why we have the non-advocacy dollars. So the educational material, or maybe if it's a survey to determine what those district boundaries are, we could get involved there. But when it comes to the actual advocating for a district or against, we don't want to be involved there. Yes, the Iron Horse group is also looking to use a special purpose fund. And what it is it's just going to be set up by the city. It'll have advisors, for example, in this one, it'd have advisors from the city and an advisor from the association. And it has a restriction on what it can be used for. And realistically, individuals could donate to the city, but I don't want a bunch of separate individual donations coming through the city to have to manage. And then also with the community foundation being very clearly, you know, when you donate there, you're donating to a purpose that you get your charitable donation tax benefit. It's easier for them to manage that side of it. And it's a community asset. These will all become community assets. We'll be holding the land when they improve it. We'll still be holding that easement, that property, until we turn it over to the fire district. So this could be that they never form a district, but that resource is right there, and it would be held entitled by the city through that easement and the building.
Thanks for explaining that.
Ben?
I would move to approve the memorandum of understanding with the North Whitefish Lake Community Fire Association.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'll make a quick comment if I could. Wildfire knows no boundaries, right? It doesn't know the city boundaries very well. And I would argue that the citizens of this town do get value from fortifying our neighbors around us against wildfire. I mean, it's not going to take a really catastrophic wildfire to really affect our quality of life here or to make its way, you know, towards our town. I do think that there is value to us in helping our neighbors around us prevent wildfires. There's always the question of who pays for what, and that's something that will be discussed ongoing. But what we have here seems to be a novel arrangement whereby they are incentivized to raise their own funds to do this. That seems to make a lot of sense to me, and it seems a lot more fair, quite honestly, than what we have with the fire service district. So this seems like a good way to go about working on this problem, and I'm sure the conversations will evolve here and elsewhere around us, but this seems like a good thing to support right now, in my opinion, and that's what my motion is to do. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Ben. Any further discussion?
Just one kind of observation or thought. It'll be interesting to see as we work with the DNRC what kind of value they give us. Being the recent appraisal value we got for the Smith Lake Conservation Easement, which was through the roof, quite frankly, and not reality. So if they stay with that same number, which I think they would be hard pressed to not stay with that same number, they're going to have to try and keep it down to 1.5 acres. That would be my only comment, so.
Deep pockets, you know, out there. So, yeah. In any case, any further comments or questions? All those in favor? All those opposed, like sign. Matter passes unanimously. Thanks, Dana. And I'm really wishing us all good luck in this particular venture. I think it's important for everybody involved and every citizen of Whitefish. Period. Thank you. Next up, we have communications from our city councilors. Giuseppe, I'll start with you.
Sure. I've been keeping the public updated of the development of the Glacier Aviation Education Museum, which has been incorporated now and has secured the leasehold at the airport. On the first lot, when you drive on the highway towards the airport, the first lot that is empty today, we'll see the buildings that will contain the school with FVCC for aeroplane mechanics and avionics engineers, as well as history preservation. The cool news I wanted to share is that we have brought home, and right now in Missoula, to our sister museum, which is called Museum of Mountain Flying, a famous aircraft for the ones who've watched the movie Always. There was an aircraft called Fire Eater, and it's an A-26 Invader bomber that together we have restored in Texas, and she just flew home to Missoula. So she will be taking a share of time here in Glacier Park International once the hangar is built. So just moving forward, vocational school coming into the valley. Very excited about the youth and this enterprise.
Thanks, Giuseppe. Steve?
Thanks, Frank. I hate to be a burr in the saddle, but we have to do something better about the streaming and the quality in here. I've been sitting here the past 3 meetings now with this high-pitched feedback that is ringing in my ears. Other people can hear it, and I don't understand why we can't figure this out. Another thing, I've had 2 friends texting me tonight during the meeting saying, "Where's the YouTube streaming channel?" I told them we stopped doing it. I think that's a disservice to the members of the public, people who just want to watch the meeting and don't necessarily want to participate. And then it's clear we have problems with participation. The Zoom, if you're the only person on Zoom, your face is taking up these giant screens the whole time that you're in here. It's not good enough, in my opinion, and I hope that we can come up with a better solution to this, and quickly, because I can't sit here for 2 hours after a long day at work with a high-pitched buzzing noise in my ear. And this is the 3rd meeting in a row that this has happened, and it seems like we can figure this out. We have a lot of people that work around here that deal with this stuff. So anyway, those are my comments. I think we need to do better with the streaming. I think we need to go back to streaming live on YouTube. And for whatever reason, streaming on YouTube and Zoom, we were doing it all before, and then we didn't change anything, and it doesn't, except we went to Zoom instead of Teams, and now we don't really have a reliable one for either one of them, it seems like. And now we have all this feedback in this room. So I think we can do a better job. On a lighter note, I'm teaching government this year. Tomorrow, or Wednesday, is Constitution Day, so celebrate that. And then some things that people might not know are that one of the state laws that passed in the last session was naming the last week of September Freedom Week, and requiring all schools to participate and celebrate freedom in some way. So I will be giving all of my students a citizenship test to see if they could pass the citizenship test in the United States. So keep those things in mind in the next couple weeks.
Thanks, Steve. Ben? No comments? Rebecca?
I have some follow-up questions. Welcome, Will. Thanks for joining us at the city. And then Scott brought up audio recording at the Community Development Board. I mean, I think that's a really good idea because we lost half an hour of public comment, and deliberations. And so is there a way to get that done before the next one?
So currently, we'll be recording all of those meetings via Zoom, so there should be no issue with capturing that recording. It wasn't Zoom that was the issue that evening, to my knowledge.
But maybe even just a tape recorder or something as backup,
I
since
don't
we're having
know.
so many problems. Does anybody have tape recorders?
Yeah,
I probably do.
that's what didn't work.
But
So yeah, I mean, we're working on it. I will say no, we're very disappointed that that was the case. I mean, currently our minutes are the official record, but we understand people are used to it now. YouTube and we did have issues with Teams and YouTube for sure. That recording will be up there tomorrow morning. So for those that didn't watch it tonight, they can absolutely watch it tomorrow during their lunch break or morning coffee, whatever it might be. But you know, streaming and also being live on Zoom is creating it to be a very difficult process. I will tell you, now that you pointed out the ringing, I hear it. I didn't hear it before, probably because I have screaming children, so my ears don't work anymore. But I do notice it now, so we'll get that addressed. But we believe that with the Zoom recording, even though they aren't participating by Zoom, that's going to be the backup for the actual thumb drive recording of the system. So there's essentially a backup that will be occurring, to my knowledge. That's how it was explained to me.
okay, thank you. Number 2, adding lights to Riverside Park. Maria?
Is there a question associated with that? Are you asking if we
I mean,
can,
is
if
that
it's in the
something that
plans?
should
or-
come before the park board, or how does that, how does someone
I would think so.
initiate
I mean, what I would say is I could present that as one of the priority projects for the park board to consider at their annual prioritizations. It just comes with funding, it would just have to be listed as a priority project and put down as a capital improvement project that we want to do at some point in time. But we don't have any funds identified for it at this time. Yeah.
Okay. But like a lot of things, we just have to kind of keep remembering until we get it done. So thank you. Okay, Bridger, can the Whitefish Police Department cease cooperation with federal immigration officers, except in the instance of a federal warrant, as Bonnie was asking?
Well,
Asking you because I think.
Back me up on this as well. I would say no. 8 U.S.C. United States Code 1373, communications between government agencies and the Immigration and Naturalization Services, says, notwithstanding any other provisions of federal, state, or local law, a federal, state, or local government entity or official may not prohibit or any way restrict any government entity or official from sending to or receiving from the Immigration or Natural Service information regarding, sorry, my glasses aren't working, regarding the citizenship of immigration status, lawful or unlawful.
Okay, so what she was asking is, you can't say no, you can't cease cooperation with the immigration people in town. I mean, I don't know if, I would assume people know that Border Patrol is federal and that we are a municipal entity, and so we have separate responsibilities and separate jurisdictions, but sometimes because we have Border Patrol in Whitefish, people think you guys are involved in everything to do with Border Patrol, but you're not.
Correct.
And so you have to work with Border Patrol by law at times, right? You can't just stop working with them.
I'll also add that there was a state law or a bill at the state legislature this year that actually also passed at the state level that authorizes peace officers to check the immigration status of individuals during lawful stops. It allows them to, upon reasonable suspicion and when practicable, determine if a person is lawfully present in the United States. And so it really gives the authority to the officer itself. Himself, herself, wow, not itself. Anyways, to the officer themselves. Wow, my goodness. Anyways, gives it to the officer, and it clarifies that the responsibilities, that they can't hinder an ongoing investigation, and they must inform the individuals of the reason of the stop, so that it goes into a little bit of detail, but that bill really made it very clear that they can do that, and it's up to the officer to decide. And these are peace officers of the state of Montana certified by post.
And I'm just bringing this up because there is a lot of energy around this in the community and nationally. And I think it's better to discuss legally what we are bound to do, so that our police officers are not harmed in any way or made to be the bad people in a situation that's being enforced right now. So.
Oh, and just to clarify, that bill used to say require before it was amended. It would require a check of immigration status before it was amended. So it is a toned down version of what was originally proposed, just so you're aware.
Can I make a quick comment on that?
Stop. Okay. Are you done? Carry on.
Well, okay, I do think the new roads are great. They don't smell anymore, and they're very smooth and very pretty. So thank you, Craig. And the last one was, I wondered about the Depot Park townhomes and if there's been any movement forward on that project.
Thanks. Steve, you had a question?
I just wanted to clarify, though, that our city police officers are not immigration officers. They do not conduct any immigration anything, if I'm not mistaken.
You are correct.
Okay, thank you.
Andy. With that, I say, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.